I'm Liv. I am the live music director here at Impact, and I host The Basement. So I'll be honest, I don't really have like a concrete ranking. These are just what came to mind as albums that over time I've gotten really into at one point or another. So I have White Blood Cells by the White Stripes on there, and I hate putting that 5, but it's really there as like a nostalgia pick because that was kind of the dawn of me having my own music taste and me like being the person that I am now, if that makes sense. Like I really think those two things kind of coincide. There are certain things about you that just, they're like core parts of your personality that will always be some bit of who you are, and then there's other stuff that just faded with time. White Stripes being kind of my entry point into music, I think is pretty indicative of my taste in a lot of other things. Anything that's got roots in like blues or soul or like bluegrass rock kind of stuff, it's so rich, there's so much texture, and I'm always gonna value that. It was maybe like a 2-year obsession of just all I listened to is the White Stripes on loop. I think it's like the simplicity. It makes it really accessible to get into. You know, it's guitar, drums, and like a buttload of talent. It's so rich, there's so much texture, and I'm always gonna value that. It's always gonna make me feel it in a way that nothing else will. Even if it's extraordinary music, it's not gonna be that like punch in the gut feeling. Coming Home by Leon Bridges, I would say, is number 4. Smooth Sailing is the big song from that album. And of course you listen to it, it's catchy, you're gonna love it. And I was like, that's sick, I'm gonna try and listen to the rest of this album, and it wasn't clicking. You know, sometimes you try and get into stuff, like so hard you try, and it just doesn't work. And then when you're not suspecting it, it finds its way into your life, and at that point it makes sense. And I just remember folding laundry one day, and River, I think it's called River, came on, and it's the most soul-crushing song. It feels like church. It feels like your soul being cleansed. And I think it's incredible that contemporary artists, like basically all of the Daptone label, are able to make songs with such nostalgic sensibilities in the contemporary world, and they're just so full. There are people who make music for the modern world and kind of like just timeless feelings and ideas and essential truths of humanity that draw on heritage in the past, but like they just keep doing it better. I don't know, I think that's really cool. That was a big pandemic album for me. I just remember I would go on bike rides, really long bike rides, be going through like a big meadow, just listening to my Leon Bridges, and it's very like surreal, and I think that's why it's such a potent memory. But there was definitely other music in that time. The way that we experienced music was very different, maybe more in depth in a way. Experiencing music socially is wonderful. I think it's one of the best things about music is the community, everything about it, and wanting to work in it beyond just enjoying it. But sometimes, depending on the group that we're with, it creates like a more needs-based listening environment, you know? Like, we need hype right now. Let's put this song on, which is so cool that music can do that. But during the pandemic, there's like so much time. There was so much time. And I think it allowed for deeper listening, and it allowed for kind of undiverted attention towards one thing, at least for me. When there's an artist that just like is so unique and they kill you with their voice and the way that they make their music, that's invaluable to me. That's like when it clicks. Album 3 would probably be Yours Conditionally by Tennis. The album was actually written on a boat. They lived on a boat and sailed around for like a year and just made music. And it's just so tight. It's hypnotic and looping and repeating and serene, but like this snappiness that you would find in jazz almost. It doesn't sound like jazz, but it's really exacting and precise. But through those artists, in one of their interviews, they mentioned Pastor T.L. Barrett and the Youth for Christ Choir, which is a gospel group that influenced them and is insanely ahead of its time and talented. It's those kind of like gems that you find where like, why would I have listened to gospel music otherwise? But it's all incredible, it's all inspiring, and it kind of feeds just one into the other. So I get made fun of a lot for the way that I listen to my music because I don't use any streaming services. I just use YouTube via my Chrome browser to listen to individual songs. It's definitely an inconvenient way to listen, but it does help you find smaller bands. Because of my job, a lot of what I try and listen to is a lot of emphasis on live performers over like really produced stuff. Like that's how I find a lot of the music I listen to nowadays. Shows are a great way to discover new artists, 100%. Just someone that you don't know being dropped in front of you, that's awesome. And I would say in large part that's also where my value of really talented live artists comes from, because if someone wants to perform in front of you, that is incredible, but when there's a group or a person who really sticks out for their talent, that just becomes so much more valuable, because you can see one thing next to another how incredible they are, like how much they have to offer. And that's why now when I recognize that elsewhere, it just holds more weight to me. I think live performances are insanely important. It's such an overwhelming privilege to get to hear people play in front of you, play to you, and you can like see them creating the sound in front of you. Yeah, so albums I already talked about a little bit. I would definitely rank that as the Audio Tree June 2013 Shaky Graves performance. So during that era, he did tour solo. I would guess it was probably like a financial thing, but now he does play with a band, and it's really cool to see just his range. You know, he's doing different things now. I've seen him twice, and I think he had 6 or 7 people on stage with him, so like it wasn't a small band at all, but it was really cool to see just how much fun they had together. They all really respect each other as talents. That's all you want to see with an artist, you know, just like them having fun and getting to collaborate with people that get them as excited as they make you. And like, other thing is, they don't owe you anything. They don't need to make music that you like for the rest of their career. And hopefully they're doing it for themselves and not other people. I'll always have my favorite albums for artists, and I'll admit sometimes it'll be like, maybe I don't listen to this album. It's not like horrible, it's just not really emphasizing the parts of this artist that I love. I would never hate on them, but if it's like a few in a row of those, I might be like, okay, we may part ways. I'll keep listening to my old stuff, you keep doing your thing, good for you. But yeah, sometimes it's a moment. It's just a moment, and that's like when what you're seeking, what you want to like scratch your little brain, this person just encapsulated perfectly in a collection of songs. Album number 1, yay! Angel Olsen, My Woman. I love this album. I love this artist. This is my lightning in the bottle artist, I would say. Whatever she's doing, whatever this like sound is, this exact vibe she's captured, that is exactly what I've been craving for my entire life. She's super talented, and she does it in her own way. It's just really raw. She's an awesome songwriter. She plays around a lot with different songs, and like you can hear the progression of her music. She shifts a lot in what she makes. Like she made folk, indie rock. She dropped a full-on like 80s synths, hair, makeup, and then the next one was a country album. Like she's killer. She does it all. And I think just like this album was the spot in the progression where it was like my sweet spot. If it hits, but you can tell when it's something different. It's kind of baffling in the same way beauty standards are baffling. Like, why on earth would the epitome be for like everyone to look as close to like one thing as possible? It just doesn't really make sense. So I think that when something is really raw and stands out a lot, that is more striking to me than other styles of singing. Being a host of The Basement has definitely forced me to get outside of the limitations of my own music taste. Because when we picked up the show, one of the first goals that we set is we wanted a lot of diversity. And we've been able to book EDM and rap and pop and folk and just everything I could have hoped for. I hope we can keep that diversity up going. But it serves as a little bit of motivation to get outside of my comfort zone and my natural like tastes and what my parents listen to and all that. If you can get into the music scene, get into the music scene. However is comfortable for you, because I get that maybe a basement isn't for everyone, but the people that you meet will surpass any experience that I've had just listening to music on my own. And it's heightened my love of those moments where I'm just discovering new things in my room by myself, because you see the people behind it more, and you see the like, wow, these people are so incredible, and they have to be recognized. Like, I just want to celebrate all of these incredible folks that I come across on the individual level and on the artistic level. So I would very much recommend, if that's something that speaks to you, to go for it.